Hey, hobby friends, welcome to another one-player adventure here at Lords of War Games and Hobbies. It's just Chris today. Only a few more of these, hopefully, before Jay and I reunite for some lovely couch co-op. Once again, I know you guys love those videos a lot more than this, but I'm here on New Year's Eve doing one of these because I love you guys so much, and I don't want you to miss out on a video this week. So, yeah, hopefully we won't get interrupted too much with the phone calls. Are you guys open still? Are you guys open still? Hopefully everyone's off getting ready for their plans tonight. And hope you are too, actually. By the time you watch this, it will actually be the new year. So happy new year. And today's topic, I wanted to talk about specifically this time of year. Something that I'm sure if you've taken any interest in these videos before, or you have a local hobby shop you frequent and you know the owners or people that work there, I know people have often asked the question to us, how do the holidays how does the holiday season impact our business, or what's that like, what happens in a hobby shop, just kind of generally. So I thought I'd take that as a chance to kind of answer that question, as maybe in short form, at least here today, because it's a pretty big question, but also it's a really simple question, and the answer really pretty much is it's everything. Like, the holiday season is a very make or break time for most of retail, to be honest. In general, it's a time of year where a lot of companies are trying to get in the black, as they say, make their profit for the year. The little brick and mortar retailer is no different, really. At the end of the day, this is a time of year where we make a lot of our profit. And that kind of includes like the month of December, and believe it or not, it kind of extends into the first half of January. Believe it or not, a lot of people have for the reason is, like, a lot of people have holiday time they're using. It's usually just like a general very spendy time for people. I've always said, like, and I'm a victim of this myself. Your wallet just kind of opens in December for the vast majority of us, and it takes almost an act of God to get it closed again. Like, it's once it's open, it's kind of open, and you get a little bit of flippant about your spending and that sort of thing. So that kind of continues into January, even, believe it or not, for a lot of people, whether they're buying things to work on the stuff that they got for the holidays, Christmas, whatever they celebrate. A lot of people end up with Christmas money. They're going to spend extra money on top of that to round out the thing that they want. Sometimes, like, just for example, like in the hobby especially, like, you get, like, people buy you gifts with the best of intentions, but sometimes it's not everything you need to do the thing that you want. So you come in with an incomplete amount of stuff, and you need to complete it so that you can kind of get going, whether that's getting the paints you need, picking up a new airbrush to actually paint the stuff you want, some new brushes, or like you got 700 points of vampire guys and you want more so that you can actually have a meaningful force or something like that, right? So spending leads to more spending. For all of you addicts out there like me, I know you are there because I am one as well. And I see it time and time again. That's just kind of how it is, right? So someone buys you a gift unintentionally. Oh, here's a box of orcs. You're like, I don't play orcs, but they are really cool. What if I just played orcs now? And then all of a sudden, now you're spending more than the gift you got. And so that's kind of how it is. Now, let's go circle back off the customer and back onto the hobby shop. So, what is it about the store that changes during that period? So let's call it a 6-week period, give or take. Well, being in the business as long as I've been, one thing you notice is, obviously, real simple stuff. You're going to see way more people than you see on an average month. Probably like 3 to 4 times as many people. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to have 3 to 4 times the sales. It means you have 3 to 4 times the opportunities to convert those people into buyers, right? So, depending on the type of location you have, that could vary, right? Like, if you're in a really high traffic area, I don't know how many of us are still in high traffic areas anymore. Like the shopping mall sort of project or whatever, like, 20, 25 years ago, you probably could get a retail space in a shopping mall for a reasonable price. Now it's just a ludicrous amount of money. And those of you that are still at shopping malls, God bless. I don't know how you afford it, but those would be kind of like the high traffic areas. Like you just have like thousands and thousands of people walking by your store every day, and there's just way more opportunities there. But like for the rest of us, like a good prime spot now technically would be like what we call like a street front location, something where you have access to just a street where you have visibility. Cars drive by, people walk by. You could have like regular people sort of discover your store. That's really valuable at a time of year like this because people are just out and about and they see your shop, and all of a sudden they're like, oh, I'll get my Pokemon cards here from this small business instead of from Toys R Us, or hey, I got to pick up Catan and some board games for the holidays. For when I get together with the family or whatever, I might as well get them through this guy. That sort of stuff really adds up at this time of year, especially the board games like Christmas and New Year's. I probably sell, I don't have the exact data on this, but like it feels like I probably sell more board games in the 6-week period than I do the rest of the year. I would not be surprised if that was true. It's kind of nuts. It's almost like the section is worth having just for this period of time. But I think that's also that kind of combines with the type of shop we have, like the fact that we have the street front location, really adds, I think, to that, where we get a lot of this like normal, what you call like normal contact with like people that are discovering us constantly for the first time. And the holiday is a great time for that to happen. Tons of new faces coming in, and you really get a chance to kind of sell yourself to people. And yeah, like I think that's the thing that like a lot of new people to this business forget, is actually the holidays is like, this time of year is like really huge for recruiting new customers, believe it or not. Like when people are discovering you for the first time because they're looking up your store location online or looking for a gift or coming in for the first time, it's a great opportunity to establish a good relationship and give good customer service and hopefully create a new customer that comes back, right? So I know we always try to keep that mindset that like this is the time of year where you really need to be really on the ball with that sort of thing, and making sure that despite being busier than any other time in the year, you're kind of doing all those extra little things for people and kind of treating people with kindness, giving them a lot of value. Like it's easy on the hobby side for Jay and I to give value to people because we have such a wealth of knowledge and in painting and playing the games and collecting, and just been basically doing this hobby for 30 years and running stores like this for 20. It's easy for us to add value on that side. It gets trickier obviously when someone's just coming in for a D&D book or a board game or some Pokemon cards, but I think the value there is it's relative to like what another store experience would be like. If you're buying, some Pokemon cards at Toys R Us, for those of you that don't have Toys R Us, it's just a big toy store chain. You're just buying them and then checking out or whatever. Like, so what value can we add there? Like, it's usually just like some pleasant conversation, relatability. Like, my kids collect Pokemon cards. I know the Pokemon characters. I can, offer some advice about like what sets are cool, what kids might like to get, that sort of stuff, right? Like the like old fashioned customer service that you just like for one reason or the other isn't a thing too much anymore. I think there's still a place in the world for that, and I think a lot of people still really like it. Like you see it every day, like in the coffee shops when like people are just trying to chat with like the barista or like whoever's working there, just little back and forth. It's like we all crave, like to some degree, like human interaction, and we want that. We all want that Cheers moment. For those of you that don't know that old sitcom, like we all want to go somewhere where people know us and we're known, and it like why not? Like that's a great feeling, right? So offering people that is a huge thing. Remembering faces, like there's some people I see once a year, and it's just the holidays. That's a big thing. Like people really appreciate being remembered. I'm not a names person, but I'm very much a faces person. So I will remember you if you bought. I'm good at this. If you bought like a box of models for me, 10, 15 years ago, I can usually remember your face, and I can almost always remember the army you collect or whatever you're into. Way better than I'll ever remember a name, which is very bizarre how that works. But I guess that's how my brain particularly works. What else? So obviously we have tons more people coming in. We have to be way more heightened about how we're acting and reacting with those customers. It's even more vital because so many of those people are experiencing us for the first time. Being busier is a whole different thing for us, especially. Like, we don't take on extra staff in the holidays. It's just, we basically just like turn our batteries up or whatever, and we're just like, okay, it's time to work harder. And sorry, I'm getting calls from people all of a sudden on my phone. I'm trying to record. Don't they know I'm working? And so it's kind of a different experience when you're like a really small, what we called in the last video, micro business. When you're a small business, when you're mostly run by the shop owners that are running the show, it's just a matter of like adapting to a busier ecosystem, having like some procedural things that kind of help you. So like, how do you handle multiple people that need you at once in the store? Like, how do you deal with that, right? And that obviously, like, I had a ton of training in my old workplace on that stuff, and obviously tons of experience helps with that too. But you have to somewhat experience it, but also have like a good plan for that. Like, how are you going to act? How are you going to make sure people don't feel bad about waiting, or how do you mitigate that, right? So, and those are things like you kind of have to think about before it gets busy, right? Like, if you're running a shop with a couple people, that's a good conversation to have. Like, how are we gonna talk to people? What are we gonna say? How are we gonna make sure people feel well treated when they come in during a busy time? These are all things that are worth thinking about and talking about. So, other than that, there's a whole logistical side to the holidays. So, like, you're gonna have the busiest time of year, the most people coming through your shop, and you're trying very hard to realistically, you're trying to, I would say, like a very like low bar goal for yourself is to have almost like a double month, right? So I think that's always what I've kind of aimed for as a store, is like, it'd be good to have 2 months in one, essentially, at Christmas time or the holiday month. And that's sort of like a nice working goal that we've always tried to strive for. And now, when you think of the logistics side of that, you're like, okay, we're going to try to move twice the amount of product. Okay. So what does that look like in terms of stocking things? What does that look like in terms of like reordering processes? It could be really tricky because, like, I would say in the last number of years since the pandemic, things are just out of stock a lot more often now. And that's just going to become like sort of like a normal reality. And there's two sides to that. Number one is, like, as a business, you kind of have to like take different strategies about that. Like, you can either mitigate that a little bit by like stocking deeper on things, which can be kind of expensive, and on things, so for some things it can make a lot of sense, and for other things it doesn't always make sense. Like, it doesn't always make sense for me to have 4 copies of a board game all year round when at Christmas is the only time I'll sell that many, right? So you have to kind of make these kind of judgments, right? But with that being said, the other side of that is, I think customers also have kind of adjusted to that to some degree. People's expectations aren't as rigid, I guess, or as heightened as they used to be, because like everyone went through the pandemic and experienced all these shortings and stuff like that. And like on the hobby side, like, things being out of stock is kind of just like a normal feature of the hobby now, and so people are usually a lot more calm about that and are happy to wait. And at the holiday season, we find a lot of people are really flexible with their gifts as well, which helps us out a lot. So being really wide on stuff, like, for example, carrying like everything for a game is really helpful, because if someone comes in for some Eugene models for their friend for Infinity, and we don't have the exact ones they want, well, I have 19 other sets here to choose from. And that's when it comes in handy to have like a flexible exchange policy where you're like, yeah, look, take a swing, get a cool gift. They can exchange it. Not a problem, right? So we find that that's always really benefited us, because I'd rather people get a cool thing for their friend or family member and get it a little wrong and then have that person come make an exchange than just buy a gift card, which we sell lots of as well. So there is that element of logistics that you have to consider. The other side to that as well is shipping times and stuff like that. So we obviously get our stuff. For those of you that don't run a local gaming store, I know I know a lot of FLGS owners and operators do like to watch our channel, and we really appreciate you, solidarity, and all that fun stuff. Happy New Year. Most of you don't. So no matter where you are in the world, the place you're going to is getting their stuff from a myriad of different places. If you've ever watched any of our Opening a Hobby Store series, you can go back and watch that. If you haven't, I think it's really good. We kind of discussed that more in detail, but in the holidays, it's really heightened, right? So like a lot of businesses like ours are one product deep in a lot of things, right? So we really rely on that constant reordering kind of system to kind of keep the shop flowing, keep stuff in stock. But the reality is a lot of distributors are on like a 3 to 5 day turnaround if things are going well. And obviously in that kind of holiday season, things tend to chug and slow down, and there's sometimes delays and things like that. So, and we had a postal strike thing happening as well at the same time here in Canada. So that tended to like make all the other couriers a little busier. So yeah, so your strategy can't just be do what you do the rest of the year, which is like go wide and lean on everything, where you have like a lot of stuff but only one deep of everything. In the holidays, that's really tested. Like I said, people are generally pretty patient and good, but like it doesn't hurt also to think strategically about stocking up on certain things. Especially like I said, in the area where things are selling out. And, you know, you might not be able to restock Redemptor Dreadnoughts or Wingspan the board game or Surging Sparks for Pokemon. God, that's a hot set. You might not be able to get these things again, right? So there's a balance between, you know, realizing that you don't want to have all this stuff left over after the holidays, but also going a little deeper on like things that you know are going to be kind of a slam dunk for that month and a half. And that's a tough one. Like that's part of like, there's this like, you can do all the graphs and like run all the data things and, you know, all the stuff Jay's good at. Data analysis you want to do and break down and make a case for a lot of things. You can do all that you want. But there is a certain amount of feel to this business that you just get from doing it for a really long time, and yeah, you can definitely get things wrong and right, and you know you swing and you miss, but that's just the way it kind of ends up being. Like especially when you're in our situation where there's only a couple of us and we're in the shop every day and we have that real pulse of what's kind of like moving and not moving and what people are interested in, and you know, beyond the data, right? What else is being said, right? So yeah, you try to get a little better at that every year, and see, like I always try to do, like, you know, especially with my hobby shop compadres that all have and own businesses, I like to always debrief a little bit after the holiday season and kind of talk about like, well, what was like your takeaways? I had a good conversation with a buddy the other day about just like what were your takeaways, about like what surprised you this holiday season, what didn't, what do you think you did really well in preparation, what could you have done better? It's sort of just like really basic self-analysis stuff that I think is really important in this industry. Honestly, especially if you work alone. Oh my goodness. This is you know, I remember like running a games workshop very much, you know, there's a lot of time where you just like, you feel very alone, especially those one person operations, which there's quite a few of those. I always had staff, luckily, but you know, you kind of like, it was sort of that like army style thing where like, you don't ask, you don't really like talk the same way to someone who's working for you the way you do to like someone who's in the exact same situation as you in like another shop, right? So you had to build out a network of people that you trusted to talk to and get advice from. And I think that's like a huge part of this too. Like, you don't want to be on an island, right? I think that's the worst thing. Like, not everybody can look in the mirror and get those, like, ask those tough questions to themselves and be brutally honest. Sometimes you need, I think everybody needs help with that. And that's why I'm particularly really proud of all the friendships I've made through this amazing industry. All the friends I have that own and run shops, the people I know that have just been in this business and are still in this business that I used to know at Games Workshop, and I think that's one of the things that's led to us being successful here is just having so many other people challenge my ideas, add to them, reshape them, give me their own ideas. I think like the idea that you could figure everything out on your own is I think it's like, yeah, maybe you are a genius, but why do why do everything on hard mode? Like other people are thinking about this stuff every day too, and I think there's so much value in collaboration. I'd always much rather work together than compete, right? Like I've always found that to be quite silly. Unless someone opens down the road from you, they're not your enemy, you know. Like they're just trying to make a living too in this very difficult world. So, well, I got to get garbage time really quickly today, man. The rambling, strong rambler today. What else about the holidays? What can I add to garbage time here? So you got lots of people coming in. You've thought about your stock a ton, logistics, how you're going to act and treat people. Yeah, that's kind of it. Like, oh, the other last thing I'll add is we always try to plan, like it's always good to know what's coming next, right? So like January is such a huge month for this is classic like New Year's resolution vibe that everybody kind of has. And we've always tried to capture that with like some new big event, like a hobby challenge, usually like something like build and paint an army or project or something like that. And those always feel really good and they work really well in January when people are the most excited to kind of turn over and start something. It's like a really productive time of year. I can only speak for this part of the world that we're in, but in Canada, it's cold, it sucks, it's miserable. Once you're into January, there's like nothing to look forward to until like April when the weather gets better. So people are stuck inside and like it's hobby time, man. Like it's time to get stuff done. So people are really excited to dig into projects. I'd say it's probably the chunk of the year that's probably the most productive for building and painting new stuff. So yeah, it's a great time of year. Always feel excited. I try to get a lot of stuff done. We usually have Adepticon coming up in March. So that's always a igniter for projects as well. Our hobby group that's like, I don't know, 15, 20 people personally that I've had for like 20 years. We're always finalizing what we want to do in January and then like just going nuts until March trying to get something done. So it's a fun time of year. Like it's good because it's very not nice outside. Like it's like today at like 4 p.m. it was dark and I'm just like, man, this is not good for the spirit. But well, what do you guys do at this time of year? Do you guys find you get a lot done in the winter, or do you live somewhere where winter isn't really a season and you feel happy anyway, so you don't have to be productive in your hobby? I don't know. Well, if you are an LGS and you have some holiday stuff to share, please write in the comments. If not, and you're a customer and you've noticed things, please do share. We try to read all your comments. There's some really insightful comments and essays even about your experiences. We love it. And I really just want to say thank you for watching this year. It's meant a lot to us. I can't believe how many people watch this channel. It's still kind of crazy. And we're gonna keep this up and keep doing great stuff for you guys, hopefully in the new year. Happy New Year, everyone. All the best. Bless up.